Guys, don't hate me, but I don't have cereal. But I have a banana sandwich and chocolate milkshake. It's a breakfast food. You can pretend it's cereal, I guess. Look at the crunch of that cereal. Hey there my dudes, I am Laddie and welcome to another video. So this video I'm going to be speaking about something that happened over like the last week and the week before. I'm a bit late on it because I wanted to get all of the information I could without like jumping on the story too early, because I mean there's some new information that came out from the first thing that happened, but I'm speaking about the Donald J. Trump transgender military ban thing. And there seemed to be a whole like mix-up thing going on, so I want to start this, premise this video with saying I have not necessarily any strong like American political views. I mean, I agree with some things that are happening, with the media, and people are sometimes being like extra, spreading fake stuff about Trump. He's all about the fake news, but it is true sometimes that has happened, but also there's some other stuff that Donald Trump has done that I think is ridiculous. So I am sort of in a stance in between where, I'm not a fan of politics in general, in a way. At least we have it over here. So I still at least have to be grateful that it's not some like dictatorship that's going on. But just saying, I don't really have a side on this, but I think in this situation, I don't agree with what Donald Trump is saying, because sometimes, people take Donald Trump out of context purposefully and they do it on purpose, but in this case it seemed, I don't think you could really take it out of context. So I'll just read the tweet I'm going to put up on screen here. So, Donald J. Trump, at the real Donald Trump, tweeted, after consultation with my generals and military experts, please be advised that the United States governments will not accept or allow ... whatever could it be, will not accept or allow transgender individuals to serve in any capacity in the US military. Our military must be focused on decisive and overwhelming victory and cannot be burdened with the tremendous medical costs that disruption that transgender in the military would entail. Thank you. So, obviously that took people aback, like, well, shit, because there's around, I think in the military in the US, there's around 2,500 transgender people serving in the military, and there's around 1,500 in reserves. So that's still, maybe not comparatively compared to other troops, but that's still a large number of people that they're going to have to deal with and replace. And I've heard that troops are actually it's quite hard nowadays. They're trying to build up more troops and get more people to serve, and what are they going to do in replacing those people if they just kick out transgender people? I saw a tweet from Markiplier, who I think said it perfectly, and a lot of other people were saying the exact sort of same thing. And Markiplier said, if someone wants to risk their life serving their country, what kind of response is it to repay that bravery with "you're too expensive"? And I totally agree with that. First off, I think those people are adequate to serve in their country. Those people have probably, if you look at them, it's not the fact that you wouldn't be able to tell, and it doesn't matter if you could tell or you couldn't. If they made it into the military, they're willing to fight. They must be adequate. I've seen these videos of of these transgender people, and of course they're adequate to fight. Have you seen, right, a video of this guy?
My name's Logan Beck Ireland. I'm 27 years old, and I'm a senior airman in the United States Air Force, currently stationed in Kandahar, Afghanistan.
They did a little documentary of him, of how, you know, what he has to deal with in the military as a transgender person. And this guy, like, he's, you know what I mean, like, you wouldn't want to, like, just duel him in a fight, because, I mean, you know, he would definitely win, and I think he's definitely enough to try and fight against whatever people are fighting against in the modern, you know, wars and stuff. I mean, I wouldn't really argue with the fact that, and yes, he has to take, you know, testosterone shots. Like, I remember watching it, and he said he had to inject testosterone every Friday, and he keeps it hidden. No one can really tell, so what's, if this is only one case, obviously there may be other forms of stuff. If that one person, some of the people around them don't even know that that person is a man, is a transgender man, then how are they affecting the military if they're keeping it to themselves? And obviously, I guess the military has to provide, like, testosterone or something. I guess that's part of their policy, to provide any of their medical stuff, or testosterone, or transitional surgeries. But I think proportionally, well, I guess there's some people who go into the military and discover themselves as transgender, but there's also a lot of people that pay for it out of their own pocket, like this guy.
In undergoing gender transition, I haven't had anybody pay for me to receive medical care or my surgery. I've paid for everything out of my own pocket.
Mm-hmm. He paid for his surgery out of his own pocket. He did an interview about it, and obviously he was shocked because he's part of the military in the US. And I think the one thing that I kind of get about it, because I try and find two sides and try and pick apart someone's brain, the one thing I get about it is, I mean, the surgeries themselves, they can increase health risks. Mental instability sometimes comes along, like often comes along with gender dysphoria. I get the idea of what he's saying, that it would add a cost. In terms of cost, it would cost the military of the United States an additional $2.4 million to $8.4 million dollars per year, when that is about 0.004 to 0.17% of the Defense Department's total healthcare spending. So in the diagram I'm showing here, there's a grey box representing all of the Defence's healthcare and stuff, and then a tiny little box representing how much it would cost extra for transgender related services. Where it's 49.3 billion is how much, this is in 2014, it may have changed, but that's how much they spend on healthcare for the entire military. So it's just a fractional thing, and either way, I guess they kind of, it isn't their problem. They want to be like, oh well, you know, it's just an extra bit of hassle for us. we shouldn't make it our problem. But I feel like if they're fighting for a country, then, you know, you should, I mean, military people, I don't think, unless you're in like a high enough stance, don't get paid enough anyway, let alone having to also pay for their own, like, health services. And most transgender people, as I was saying before, pay for it out of pocket. So 2.4 million to 8.4 billion. And the military spends 5 times as much of that money on Viagra. And I don't know what they're using Viagra for. I don't know if it helps, if it has any external things that help with, like, getting buff or fit or something. But last time I checked, Viagra was for a different reason. And I don't know why they need to spend that much on Viagra. Are people just running around like Afghanistan with, like, hard-ons and, like, full chubbed? 10 out of 10 full chubbed. Is that what's happening here? I mean, transgender people in the military, no, definitely not. But guys with full chubs, they're fine. They're good. One of the things, this is all a ruckus, the first day or two I remember seeing reports of people being like, oh my god, this is the craziest thing that's ever happened in the universe, I'm freaking out. I mean, that's just overreaction, but a lot of celebrities tweeting out.
I just want to tell the transgender community that I love you and you are supported no matter what. Hashtag protect trans troops. We should be grateful to the people who wish to serve, not turn our backs on them. Banning transgender people is hurtful, baseless, and wrong. I guess he doesn't know what the T stands for. From a report commissioned by the Pentagon last year, let's not tolerate blatant transphobia under the guise of some huge financial burden. Dear transgender Americans and all LGBTQ individuals, thank you for your bravery. You are not a burden, you are humans, and you are loved. Hey Ivanka, James here. Hope all is good. Quick question, can you call your dad and have a talk? There are 15,000 patriotic transgender Americans in the US military fighting for all of us. What happened to your promise to fight for them?
To be fair, this had a lot of the left, or the left obviously stayed in their sort of like stance against Trump, but also a lot of it even swayed a lot of conservative people themselves. But I'm sure there are plenty of conservative people who agree with Trump, who think that it is an extra medical cost, not necessarily because they're, against, it's not necessarily because they're, against being, transgender people. It may just be the fact they agree with there's a bit of an extra cost on, I don't know how it works over there, but taxes, I guess, it all goes into sort of taxes and that pays for certain military health care in the government and stuff. I just think we should give someone who's serving someone's country, in this case the US, a bit more respect than that, and not just say that they're sort of like a bit of a burden, which is what's kind of happening. And also stop buying so much Viagra. I don't know what weird shit they get up to in the military, but just you don't need the Viagra, okay? Alright? I don't know why that's a necessity. Oh well. But yeah, as I was saying, at the beginning of the week everyone was freaking out, understandably so, I guess. I've said my points for and against this thing, mostly against because I don't feel like it brings as much burden as people think it does, because I mean, if they're in the military, they've trained for it, they've done this stuff, they deserve to be in it. And it's only minimal extra cost compared to other stuff that they've bought that's probably actually more useless than, transgender surgery, which helps those people. But at the end, I think it was like a little while after, they started doing a press conference and they couldn't really answer questions when they did a press conference about this, and people were asking, so what happens to the troops in the military now? And with every question they got asked about it, they couldn't really, Donald Trump's team or the secretary team, I don't know exactly what people it was, but they couldn't really answer many questions of what would happen to the troops now. They just said we're working on it pretty much. But at the end of the week, the Pentagon came out with a thing lifting the trans ban. The Pentagon lifts the ban on transgender service members.
We have to have access to 100% of America's population for our all-volunteer force to be able to recruit from among them the most highly qualified and to retain them. Based on its analysis of allied militaries and the expected rate at which American transgender service members would require medical treatment that would impact their fitness for duty or deployability, RAND's analysis concluded that there would be, quote, minimal readiness impacts from allowing transgender service members to serve openly, end quote. And in terms of cost, RAND concluded that healthcare costs would represent, again their words, an exceedingly small proportion of DoD's overall health care expenditures. Now, as a result of this year-long study, I'm announcing today that we're ending the ban on transgender Americans in the United States military.
Pretty much saying, we're lifting the ban. We did a study and realised that the costs are only minimal. Like I said earlier, are only minimal compared to other stuff that they buy. Maybe they could cut down on other stuff. And I also saw another few things that I've seen in a few, because I watched like Philip DeFranco and stuff, I mean, and I watch a few other things, you know, ABC, I did a lot of, I tried to watch a lot of things about this before I started this video, and I actually saw one that it was the head of the Secretary of Defense or something was out of the country when he had just gone out of the country when Trump posted this, and he said that he hadn't, I will find the thing online here. The Department of Defense declared Thursday that there will be no modifications to the current policy. So like the Trump tweet directed at those transgender troops, and Joseph Dunford, who's the Joint Chief of Staff, chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, and service chiefs and commanders and stuff, he said the President's direction has been received by the Secretary of Defense, and the Secretary has issued implementation guidance, which has not yet happened. In the meantime, we'll continue to treat all of our personnel with respect. And as importantly, given the current fight and the challenges we face, we will remain focused on accomplishing our assigned missions. So it seemed like there was a bit of back and forth, there was a bit of confusion within their own thing, and I heard they kind of got told via tweet. Some of the people in his own and in the government got informed that he was planning to do this by a tweet, which is, might I add, professional. And it seems like, you know, they're sort of like confidential message board now for the US military is Twitter. So you can find all of their secrets on there. It does look like there's some people, now this is out in the open, there's some people actually trying to push this forward, even though they said that they are dropping it. There are actually some people in the government who were at the time trying to push this forward. I mean, Trump and his people also, but a few other people. Luckily it's been dropped now, and that's what I really wanted to say. I just wanted to speak about it, address it, and it's, I think, just in summary, I think that I think if someone's serving for their country, they deserve respect and not to be treated like someone who's a burden, even if they are. I mean, obviously you've got to think about costs at the end of the day, but the costs are so minimal that moaning about it and saying it's a burden is, I think, ridiculous personally. But you know, I'm not in their minds, and I think that with the armed forces and the military forces, they can go by unscathed if they continue on their plan. It hasn't been too much of a burden, as the study suggests that the Pentagon did, and that's why the Pentagon said, okay, well, we're going to drop this ban. This isn't going to be a thing because the effects are minimal, but I do understand the part of it that says some of the people who are transgender could have mental issues. That comes along with being transgender, the dysphoria, the transition. It can really put a burden, and if someone needs to be abroad fighting, someone needs to be, you know, overseas or wherever they are fighting, they probably need to have a very stable mental thing if they're holding a gun in their hand, you know, which I can understand that, but I think that's, if you make it into the military, I think transgender people aren't as, I mean, we have mental instabilities usually earlier in life and later in life as well, but I think they're mixing up the fact, I think their idea is that we're all completely ridiculously unstable, and I think a lot of transgender people at that time in their future in life have learned to actually be quite tolerant and controlling and stable because of the stuff they've had to deal with earlier in life. So overall, it was all a kerfuffle. I'm glad it's over now. I mean, Trump, I guess I understand where he's coming from. He just doesn't know. He's probably not educated. He doesn't know what it is to be even around transgender people. I don't know if he's got any transgender friends, buddies, but he doesn't know what it's like. And I think he just he's not very educated on the whole thing. I think if he knew more about transgender people, he'd know that they weren't really a risk to the military as much. So just a little update in here. I saw that a former member of the elite Navy SEAL challenged Donald Trump to tell her face to face that she was not worthy to serve. I think her name is Miss Beck, and she's been a Navy SEAL for 2 decades, including in Iraq, Afghanistan and Bosnia. And she said, she called it a terrible decision and said, let's meet face to face and you tell me I'm not worthy. She told a Business Insider and said, transgender doesn't matter, do your service. Being transgender doesn't affect anyone else. We're at liberty's light. If you can't defend that for anyone, that's an American citizen, that's not right. So she said, let's meet face to face and you tell me I'm not worthy. And you, lady, are a braver person than I to challenge in any way the world reigning WrestleMania champion, Donald Trump. I tip my hat to you. So that is all I have to say on that topic. I will be doing more topic videos every weekend, and an update video coming soon where I just speak about my new sort of ideas for the channel and the format of the channel. And I will have like a proper setup with like a thing behind me because it will look better, but for now I don't have that, so I'm just gonna deal with what I have. Thank you guys for watching me. Please like, comment and subscribe, or dislike, I don't mind. Do what you want, but hopefully you enjoyed. And yeah, thank you for watching. Subscribe here and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
He doesn't care for lesbians. G, he thinks 2 men should just be friends. B, to his dumb knowledge, is just a phase in college. T, he finds confusing, so the army's now refuting trans women who only want to serve. Trans men who want rights we all deserve.